Hi, I'm Paul from Visual, and today I'm going to talk to you about Azure Virtual Desktop. Here at Visual, we have an Azure Virtual Desktop pilot offering. What does it entail? Well, Visual provide a predefined and scripted deployment of Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop into an existing Azure subscription that already hosts your client services. The AVD service will be deployed to provide a pilot proof of concept implementation presenting a managed desktop via a web browser or client application. The features this will bring will help you develop and publish a design for AVD, implement the AVD pilot solution, install and configure applications such as Office 365 and Microsoft Teams, and demonstrate publishing two of your business applications. We can test the connections from multiple devices and also configure roaming profiles using FS logics, so that when a user logs onto one host pool and saves some information, when they log on to the other one, the information is there, and that speeds up the logon times and the roaming of the profile. The benefits: it's low risk and low cost. In terms of cost, we can spin up and spin down, extra host pools and turn them off when they're no longer needed. And it allows you to evaluate the service. And all this can be done utilizing Microsoft funding. And we can have a great user experience through Windows 10 or now Windows 11 desktop. And because it's Azure Virtual Desktop and it's in the Microsoft Azure platform, there's no requirements for VPNs or client applications to be installed on user devices and can be accessed anywhere, depending on any conditional access you may or may not have implemented. So in terms of delivering the pilot part, we'll do a design and planning session. So we'll have an engagement and set out the scopes, assumptions. In phase 2, we'll build a pilot, which will, deploy the host pool, the AVD, install the applications, and then execute a pilot POC with some users. Then we'll do some testing and UAT of the applications, and we'll run through some tests with yourselves, and then we'll move on to the next step. So how we deploy this further out of pilot and proof of concept. So what are the prerequisites of Azure Virtual Desktop? You'll need an Azure subscription. You'll need to use Azure Active Directory, and then you need either on-premise Active Directory linked up with your Azure Active Directory in the terms of Azure AD Connect to synchronize them objects, or we can connect directly to Azure's Active Directory domain services. In terms of host pool sizing recommendations, this is a small example of a proof of concept for a user workload of around 20 or less users, and the workloads being light, medium, heavy, and power. More of that information can be found on Microsoft's website, but we've got the different types of Azure instances that are required. So let's have a look at a demo of building an AVD host pool. So in here, we go into Azure, you click on Azure Virtual Desktop, and in there you've got Create Host Pool. Now, I'm going to create a new resource group. So this will keep all anything to do with the AVD environment in the same resource group. We'll give it a host pool name. So this is the prefix of the host pool. So I'm just going to call this Visual AVD HP for host pool and put it in West Europe. And then you've got the host type as personal or pooled. Personal would be a one-to-one mapping, or pooled will be, multi-user. And then you've got depth first or breadth first. Breadth will spin it across the virtual machines. Depth will fill up a virtual machine before. Here I'm going to add some virtual machines. So I'll choose yes. And then I'm going to add the machines into the resource group there. And then the prefix of visual AVD. So when we create them with visual AVD 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. You get the options of choosing a gallery. I'm going to choose Windows 11. We can, once we've built an image, we can then sysprep it, put application on sysprep it, and then save that image to the gallery and use that. But for this instance, I'm just going to use that. Domain to join, you can choose Azure Active Directory or just normal Active Directory. For the simplicity of this, I'm going to choose Azure Active Directory, which I've spun up before this demo. You can also enroll into Intune if you like, so then you can push policies from Intune down. But I'm going to leave that for this demo. So I'm going to give the virtual machine a username, and just so we can log on that if required. And then for now, I'm going to leave workspace blank because I'm going to go through that later on. This will validate. And then we click create. Now, I'll just fast forward this video because the deployment takes some time. So we can see here, it took roughly about 10-15 minutes. Still deploying, and then we got deployment complete. So for the next demo, I'm going to create some application groups and a workspace. These application groups are, you could have different users being able to access, the full desktop or certain applications. And the workspaces, you can only have workspace per pool, but you can have different pools with different workspaces. So users could potentially log on to different sets of machines. In this instance, we're just going to have a simple, one host pool. So we'll just have one workspace. So here you can see here, if I go into applications, I'm going to create an application in the host pool that the resource group I created before, and in the host pool that I created. It automatically creates a desktop. So here I'm going to create one called Visual Remote Apps. And then I'm going to add, Word, Excel, Access into this. Obviously, we could browse for your application, business application, and that's the option you can get there for the application paths. So in assignments, I created some groups before. I had AVD remote apps and full desktop. So I'm going to do remote apps for this. And then this is where I'm going to register against the workspace. And then we click create. So you can see on the left hand side there we've got visual AVD HP DAG. That's the full desktop, which gets created when you create the host pool. So that will go off. It just takes a few minutes. And that's completed. So if we go to the resource group, you can see there in assignments, I've got the full desktop users and the remote apps. You could remove the full desktop users. And you can see the applications that I assigned: Access, Excel, and Word. So if I go to the workspace, you can see in there, we've got to application groups. You've got the full desktop at the top, and then that new remote applications that I've put in there. Okay. So in our next demo, we'll look at accessing the AVD environment that we just created. So we can do that from the web, or the remote desktop app. Obviously from the web, you don't need to download anything. If it's from the remote desktop app, it's just a small app that you download and install onto your device. So, oops, sorry. So here, I'm going to put the URL in for the web. And I'm already logged in as that user. You can see there, I've got the free published apps and the full desktop. I'll connect to the desktop. So I'll put my credentials in here. So these are the credentials that are in Azure Active Directory. It's asking me if I want to configure Windows Hello. And I've got some MFA set up on this user, so it's just asking me to approve the sign-in, which I'll do now. Okay. Skip that for now. Okay, you can see there through the web client, I've got the full desktop, so you can see the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and obviously if we'd installed any apps, we'd have that. If I just jump into the Azure portal and just go into AVD and go to the users and put in my user, it should show that I am connected to this. I'll go to sessions. Yeah, there's that active session that I'm connected to. So if I go back to remote desktop and choose one of the applications, so I'll just try Excel. Again, put my credentials in. Oops, wrong credential, just put it in again. And that loads Excel through the web client. So just do blank book. If I flip back now and do a refresh, there's the other, so you got the app and the full desktop connections there. You can see here that if I close Excel, refresh. Oh, I've left the actual tab open. If I close the remote desktop app and do a refresh, it should show disconnected. It does. I can log that off. Then I can actually log off the desktop from here as well. If I do log off, and if I quickly jump back, we should see it. Yep, signing out and logging off. Okay, so if I show the app now, I've downloaded the app previously, but if I click subscribe, I'll try a different user this time. So I'll try this test user that I've created. Now, I've actually given it the same permissions as the other user, but you could give it, if you had other apps and you didn't want it to have the full desktop, I could take the full desktop off and just show the apps. And just log in. So it should go off to AVD, see what you've got permissions to, and then present them to you. So I'll just jump onto the full desktop here. There we go. I'm logged onto, looks like I'm logged onto a session that I had before. So I'll just sign that out. Now I do test user now, you should see that it doesn't show any sessions because I'm logged out. So if I go back in again, I get the full desktop. And yeah, if I go, for example, into Word, blank document. I've not given this user a license for Word, so we just got unlicensed, but obviously that's getting that user license from the licenses you've assigned the user in Azure Active Directory. Just sign that out. Okay, so that's how you access Azure Virtual Desktop. So let's have a Azure Virtual Desktop summary. We can deliver multi-session Windows 10, 11 experience. It's enabled optimizations for Office 365 and Teams. We can migrate Windows Server desktop and apps, RDS. We can deploy and scale in minutes with Azure Automation or scaling tasks. That's not something we've covered in this. And again, we've not covered the FS logics. But what that means is, like I say, we can roam user data between the remote session hosts, and this minimizes the sign-in times for virtual desktops. There's also, as you could see, we can install the applications on the host pools, or we've also got something called MSI X App Attach. So say you installed Office and you had an image and you'd update your host pools with the patches either through SCCM or Intune or your third party, whatever you're using. But say you've got applications as well that aren't Office, that you're not pushing the updates down, and you have an app that has had an upgrade and you need to do that. Say you've got a host pool of 30 machines, you're going to have to log on to each of them 30 machines and update that application, and then you've got downtime if that server needs a reboot, etc. So you're taking all applications offline. What you can do with MSIX App Attach is you create a container for that app. So you would create it kind of works on a VHD, so you create the application and then you'd mount that application again with FS logics to them machines. So if there was ever an issue you needed to update the app, you could package the app offline, reconnect it to all your machines, and that application is online. So it's only that application that is briefly coming offline. You can do all the prep in the background, and then when you're ready, publish it to your host pools. So that concludes the AVD walkthrough. You can see at the bottom there we've got our contact us, so the phone number, inquiries@visual.com. And if I just flip back, so the next steps would obviously be the user profiling, scaling, and MSXI packages. If I can skip back, quickly skip back to the one of the first pages. So this is the offering that Visual can give you. So we can deliver the pilot proof of concept over 10 days. So like I say, will be like a design and planning. So that's a day of a workshop, and then we'll do some documentation for the 2 days. So we'd capture all your prerequisites and your requirements, business and technical requirements. We document that, give you the documentation, get that approved. Then we do 4 days of building, 2 days of testing it, and then a day of next steps. So we've tested it. This is what went well. This is what didn't go well. This is what we want to tweak, and this is how we're going to, move it from pilot or proof of concept into production. Okay, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and hope to see you again soon.